Since his arrival at the factory Ducati team, Marc Marquez has instantly transformed the internal dynamics, displacing Francesco Bagnaia from the top spot, despite Bagnaia being the rider who won 2 consecutive world titles with Ducati. This shift in power is so pronounced that Marquez is now the new king, while Bagnaia, the reigning champion, has had to settle for being the prince. This phenomenon is not only evident in Marquez's dominance on the track, but also in his extraordinary technical contributions to the bike's development. His impressive performances in every race, coupled with his unique ability to provide technical feedback, have made him the new center of gravity at Borgo Panigale, a fact that no one on the team can deny. Marquez's advantage lies not only in his racing speed, but also in his deep insight into motorcycle technology. This contrasts with Bagnaia, who, according to Ducati director Davide Tardozzi, often complains about his bike's problems, but is unable to provide specific and effective solutions to the engineers. Bagnaia's inability to translate his feelings on the bike into concrete technical data is a gap that Marquez easily fills. While Bagnaia may feel uncomfortable with the bike, Marquez is able to analyze the problem, identify the root cause, and suggest appropriate changes, a skill highly valued within the factory team. Bagnaia himself openly admitted that Marquez's adaptability is on a different level. He was surprised and frustrated by how quickly Marquez was able to ride the Desmosedici GP25 despite having jumped from the GP24. Bagnaia admitted that he himself is still struggling to find balance and confidence with a new bike, despite having played a full season on the previous version. Bagnaia's sense of helplessness was revealed in his humorous analogy that Marquez would still be fast even if he were riding a tractor, a statement that clearly demonstrates his deep respect and admiration for Marquez's natural talent for adapting to any bike and turning it into a winning weapon. The fundamental difference in the two riders' technical approaches became even more apparent when Bagnaia explained that parts that suited Marquez weren't always the right fit for him. This demonstrates that different riding styles demand different bike configurations. Rather than expecting Ducati to completely change his bike, Bagnaia realized he had to adapt. He concluded that the key to returning to peak performance was to change his own riding style to better suit the characteristics of the GP25, which Marquez had already proven to be incredibly fast. This move demonstrated Bagnaia's maturity in facing challenges and his willingness to make sacrifices to regain lost speed. Marquez's unique technical approach has also proven to be highly influential in the development of the bike. One of the most striking examples is his request to modify the GP24 chassis for use on the GP25. After comparing the two versions, Marquez determined that a slightly adjusted GP24 chassis would provide better performance. This request, based on careful analysis, demonstrates how Marquez not only accepts what is given to him, but is proactive in finding the best solution. He literally built his own chassis, a metaphor that describes how he personalizes his bike to maximize its potential. The fact that Marquez's technical input has proven effective and become a benchmark for Ducati further strengthens his position as a leading rider. This success is reminiscent of his dominant era at Repsol Honda, where his technical input was a key guide for engineers developing the RC213V. This situation even led to the assumption among other riders that the Honda bike at the time was only suited to Marquez. Marquez's power and speed often masked the bike's shortcomings, making it difficult for engineers to distinguish between bike issues and riding style, a phenomenon that could potentially be repeated at Ducati. This view was reinforced by Alvaro Bautista, a former LCR Honda rider who had first-hand experience of this phenomenon. Bautista highlighted Marquez's potential to cause the team to stagnate in bike development due to his over-focus on his own needs. According to Bautista, Marquez wasn't overly concerned with intricate technical details. What mattered to him was a bike that allowed him to go fast and win. Bautista observed that since Marquez began his involvement in Honda bike development, only Marquez had achieved outstanding results, while other riders struggled. Marquez's extraordinary dominance in his debut season with Ducati is truly commendable. His victory at the 2025 San Marino MotoGP in Italy, home of his arch-rival Valentino Rossi, was a clear demonstration of his dominance. With 25 wins, both in sprint races and main races, and a total of 512 points, a 7th World Championship title is within reach. However, this brilliance is in stark contrast to Bagnaia's sluggish performance, a lack of speed and confidence, and other Ducati riders like Fabio Di Giannantonio's lack of consistency. This anomaly, where only Marquez can accelerate with the GP25, has prompted Alvaro Bautista to speak out again. Bautista acknowledges Marquez's extraordinary talent, but he also questions whether Marquez is truly the type of rider who can contribute to the bike's overall development. His experience in MotoGP with LCR Honda in 2012 to 2013 shows how Marquez's arrival in 2013 shook the Honda dynasty, then led by Dani Pedrosa. Pedrosa was known as a meticulous rider in motorcycle development, and under his guidance, all Honda riders were fast. However, when Marquez arrived, the focus of development shifted, and only Marquez reaped the rewards. According to Bautista, Marquez was the type of rider who was always fast and didn't care about technical details. Bautista recalled that when engineers asked how the bike worked, Marquez would often simply reply, "Same as the other one." He cited the example of how Marquez could do crazy things with the bike and make it seem successful, which then led the engineers to believe that Marquez's input was the most correct. This created a situation where Marquez's lap times became the sole indicator of success, when in fact the bike might not be suited to other riders. Bautista then directly compared the Pedrosa and Marquez eras at Honda. When Pedrosa led development, all Honda riders, including Bautista, were fast. However, after Marquez arrived and began building his own bike, the situation changed drastically. Only Marquez could dominate, while other riders struggled. This shows that even though Marquez is a very fast rider, his approach to bike development tends to be selfish and has the potential to harm other riders on the team. Bautista remains in awe of Marquez's extraordinary talent. He explained that Marquez has a unique ability to push the bike to its limits without requiring the same feeling as other riders. "Marc doesn't care," Bautista said, referring to how Marquez can push the bike to its limits in braking and cornering without requiring the same confidence as other riders. This ability, while phenomenal, comes at a price. When Marquez's input becomes the sole reference, it can come at the expense of developing a more universal bike that suits all riders, creating a situation where the team has a very fast rider, but a bike that only fits one person. Bautista also told an interesting anecdote about Dani Pedrosa, complaining that Honda brought him apart to test, and Pedrosa claimed it didn't work. However, when the part was installed on Marquez's bike, he was able to go crazy with it. Bautista interpreted this as a signal for Marquez, as if saying, "You don't like it? Put on my bike, that's what we'll use." This story highlights how Marquez indirectly imposes his approach to bike development, forcing his teammates to adapt to a bike that may not suit them.